mid-21st century, the Earth has been overrun by demons. Governments and armies have collapsed, the survivors forced to hide in the rubble of a dead world. The lucky ones have banded together into large bastions, the final refuges of humanity. In this brave new world, new weapons are needed if this war is to be won. The David-class Mobile Combat Suit, or MCS, is but one of these new inventions. Multiplying the strength and firepower of a single soldier, they have the potential to hold the line against the demon hordes, and perhaps even begin to turn the tide in their favor. Hello and welcome to another Tank Encyclopedia voiced article. I'm your host Wood, and today I'll be covering the David MCS from the audio drama Mortal Steel. Mortal Steel follows the journey of cyborg pastor Ethan Cutter as he navigates a world overrun with demonic entities. You can listen to their sci-fi and fantasy audio dramas on the website of the producers, collectedaudio.com. There is a link in the description. Check them out. You can also listen to a sample story about this mech at the end of the video. Despite its name, the original design for the David originated not in the United States, but rather Japan. The Fukuoka Bastion was in regular communication with the stronghold of the Last Respite, one of the few safe zones in the former city of Los Angeles. One of the survivors at Fukuoka was Professor Jiro Saitama, one of the foremost surviving experts in robotics and engineering. Most of Professor Saitama's work was dedicated to Project Hail Mary, Last Respite's own plan to enhance human soldiers with cybernetic implants, but the Japanese team spent some time developing their own war-winning weapon, a combat suit operable by a single soldier, which could multiply the combat capabilities of one man many times over. Plans and design schematics, as well as some artistic drawings, had been near complete when Fukuoka Bastion was overrun and destroyed by a demon attack. Professor Saitama and his team did not survive, but one of the professor's final acts was to send Last Respite all the information and projects they had worked on, not only work related to Project Hail Mary, but designs, pet projects, and concepts that might tip the scale in favor of humanity if they could be realized. In the interest of expediency, much of the information sent to Last Respite was identified as either of interest for use in Project Hail Mary or surplus to requirements. Documents in the latter category were filed away and, for the most part, forgotten. It was only 6 months later, with the Hail Mary entering its first field deployment, that these old documents were re-examined. Sister Fran is credited with the rediscovery of these schematics, and it was she who brought them to the attention of Archbishop Gabriel Klein. Perhaps seeing the potential of such a weapon, or just humoring Sister Fran, the Archbishop granted permission for the design and construction of a prototype mechanical combat suit. Although the Japanese design team had completed some schematics of the design, they had based the design upon what materials could be scavenged or manufactured in or around Fukuoka Bastion. This meant a great deal of time was spent in the first few months simply reconfiguring the design to make use of available materials. Once the design had been revised and refined, the next step was the construction of the prototype. This task was entrusted to the best engineers in Last Respite, Sisters Ursula and Gretchen. This proved a difficult endeavor, as the material costs spiraled rapidly and more people began inquiring why so much material was being requisitioned, and more importantly, where it was going. It is said that, with the veil of secrecy failing and the project seemingly destined for failure and disassembly, Archbishop Klein proceeded to the church and prayed for a miracle. He was not expecting an answer, but apparently he got one. 2 days later, while out with a scavenger party, Sister Gretchen uncovered the remains of a major industrial site. Within the rubble, she uncovered a cache of industry-grade batteries, precisely the type Last Respite would need to power their prototype. Further within the ruins, an even greater discovery was made: a dozen F4M Foreman heavy industry units. Designed for heavy lifting and not combat, the Foreman was still a godsend, possibly quite literally. It would provide a useful chassis for the initial vehicles, and it would require fewer resources to repurpose the units than to build them from the ground up. The Foreman suits were recovered and conversion began. It took several months, but eventually, the first prototype was completed. Basic mobility and weapons tests were completed a few days later, and the experimental combat suit was declared ready for field tests. Reports hold that it was here that Archbishop Klein bestowed the suit with the name David for its biblical namesake, for it too would stand against the giant, and it would win. Standing 9 meters tall, the David MCS is a bipedal combat suit built to enhance the combat capabilities of a single soldier. The suit is naturally humanoid in form, with 2 arms supporting the suit's primary weapon systems, and 2 legs providing locomotion for the vehicle. The torso holds the command center and pilot, while upon its back rests the power pack, auxiliary systems, and weapon magazines for the armaments. To keep weight at a minimum, the skeleton of the suit is composed of titanium, while a skin of aluminum protects against the elements. The command center is the most important aspect of the combat suit. From here, the pilot is linked to the vehicle by a neural interface, allowing the pilot to move the suit with but a few thoughts. By reducing the amount of attention the pilot requires to coordinate movement, they're able to focus upon more pressing concerns, such as searching and engaging targets. Holographic displays located around the cockpit keep the pilot informed of vital information about the suit, while a virtual intelligence assistant is on hand to respond to verbal requests. Above the cockpit sits the Mark 12A gunner's sight, providing the pilot with thermal and infrared views of the battlefield. Whatever the battlefield conditions, the gunner's sight, coupled with an Erwin Argus sensor suite, ensures that a pilot retains a near-perfect overview of the terrain and enemy locations. The gunner's sight provides vision in 1x, 5x, and 10x magnifications, allowing the pilot to track targets and deliver aim fire up to 2,000 meters. Two Mazzani series solid-state batteries provide enough power for the suit's movement and weapon systems. These provide enough electrical power for up to 24 hours of continuous operation. The limited combat time afforded by the power has been the key criticism of the suit, and efforts are underway to refine the battery design and to allow increased battery life. Another proposal put forward has been the design and implementation of a miniaturized fusion reactor, theoretically affording the suit a near-infinite operating time. However, such a project would be as resource-intensive as the project for David itself, although rumors abound that Archbishop Klein may have siphoned some materials destined for the mech project to other locations. His detractors shout corruption, but there are those who suspect greater plans at play. The David is capable of accepting a wide array of weapon systems, but in its default state, the suit is geared towards medium to short-range engagements, especially within urban environments. Almost ubiquitous for any loadout, the VN-4 Ares is a 20mm autocannon mounted centrally upon the David's shoulders, firing high-explosive fragmentation rounds at a rate of 100 per minute. The Ares is excellent for dealing with soft targets such as infantry. In exceedingly dangerous situations, the Ares can increase its rate of fire up to 200 RPM, although this risks jamming the cannon or overheating and warping the barrel. David combat suits may also carry the XM-12 high-pressure flamethrower. Adapted from a handheld pre-apocalypse flamethrower and scaled up, the XM-12 quickly garnered the name Infernus for the inferno-like effects it can inflict upon target areas. Firing a napalm-like substance, the Infernus can reach targets up to 200 meters away and fire in bursts of up to 15 seconds at a time. All told, the Infernus is quite possibly the most devastating weapon in the David's arsenal. For use against larger, more heavily armored targets, the David can be equipped with a 75mm GL-10 cannon. The GL-10 is another pre-apocalypse design, originally intended for use with the US Army as the main armament of a new air-mobile light tank, not dissimilar to those trialed in the 1970s and 80s. Like the Ares, in the interest of ammunition conservation, the rate of fire has been toned down to a more moderate 60 rounds a minute from the original 120. Alongside these weapon systems are several others still in development, including missiles both guided and not, and arrays of smaller caliber machine guns. Research continues on more esoteric weaponry, such as kinetic weapons like coil and railguns, alongside a directed energy weapon system using lasers. Armor protection is limited, with between 50 and 10 millimeters of composite armor on the strongest and weakest sections, enough to protect the suit from small arms fire at typical ranges. Conventional armor has proven ineffective against demonic weaponry, and so pilots must rely on the suit's mobility and luck to defend against such attacks. Against RPGs and ATGMs, the David makes use of a CZMK DART active protection system to intercept projectiles short of the target. Smoke launchers are also mounted to provide visual obscurement in inopportune situations. Although cleared for field tests at present, there are no confirmed sightings of the David in combat. This is expected to change in the near future. To conclude, from simulations and statistics, the David is poised to change the face of warfare in the post-apocalyptic world. The David may be the first step forward in humanity's war for survival, the hunted becoming the hunter. It is hoped that this new wonder weapon will buy time for newer, more refined combat suit designs, time for more powerful weapons to be built. But as ever, only time will tell. We now hand it over to the guys at Collected Audio with a short story concerning the David mech.
Mortal Steel. The Project. Archbishop Gabriel Klein looked down at the mech schematics on his desk, and for the 10,000th time, wondered if he'd gone insane. no, this made sense. There were good reasons to build a humanoid mech. It could go on stairs. Very big stairs. That would be helpful if they ever fought demons on a pyramid. He called in 2 nuns, his best engineers, to give him status updates. Sisters Ursula and Gretchen traded silent glares of concern with each other.
Can it climb?
It can't climb.
Can it jump?
No, sir.
Gabriel drummed his fingers on the desk. He wasn't insane. Maybe he could tell them about the pyramid idea.
Archbishop, we have some concerns about the project.
The first nun glanced at the other. What? Had they rehearsed this? Was this some kind of intervention?
Material Storage wants to know why we need so much titanium.
Tell them we're building shelves. Very expensive, very light shelves.
What about power storage? Generation? We don't have enough solid-state batteries, and it's too small for our fission reactors. Unless we design a new one.
How long can it run on traditional batteries?
Maybe 2 or 3 minutes?
There were excellent reasons to build a 30-foot-tall humanoid exoskeleton. For one, you could drive it. Secondly, it was pretty damn cool. Was he losing it?
Archbishop, how do we keep this a secret? It's not something we can hide for long.
Okay, hear me out. What if we build it in pieces? Maybe disguise each piece as a vehicle. Or an animal. And then they could be reassembled.
Their wide-eyed stares stopped him short.
There's only one reason we're building a mech.
They leaned in, their practical minds eager to make sense of this madness he'd put them through over the past few months.
Because it's completely, utterly, hopelessly impractical. You don't need to keep it secret. No one will believe you. Just build it in the clean room. If you put up enough biohazard and radiation signs, no one will get nosy.
They nodded slowly. It was enough. They would keep working.
Do you still want us to do the transforming animal thing?
No, that was a joke.
In a better world, though, when there wasn't a demon army bearing down on top of them, he might have said yes.
This concludes our video about the David mobile combat suit from Mortal Steel. If you like this video, please leave a like and a subscription. Mortal Steel is available now and can be found on all major streaming services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Audible. The first 2 episodes are even available right here on YouTube. You can also find more information relating to the vehicle in the full article, which is linked in the description. If you like what we are doing and want to let us continue working on these videos, please consider donating on Patreon or PayPal. All of the funds will be allocated to improving our articles and videos for you. Until next time, keep us in your sights.